Hello class, this video is to follow up with this foundation plan and do the notes and dimensions, otherwise known as annotations and title blocks and things of that nature. But actually, as I was noting between break, there's actually a few more foundation lines. I just sort of slipped my view. There must be porches or decks or both on the front end, the top and the bottom end of this house, and whatever that structure is going to be on. There's little circular concrete foundations whose sizes can be found on the notes page instructions, which are 16 inches diameter. So I'm going to start by drawing those in, and those are going to be on the hidden light layer. And the ones up top, you can see there's a note off to the side here that says 12 under a squiggle, so they're 12 feet away. Now that little squiggle means that they aren't drawn 12 feet away. I don't like that. I like drawing, especially in plan. For a base plan, you draw real dimensions. So I'm going to start by drawing at 12 feet. Maybe it doesn't fit on our title block. If it doesn't, at the end of this video, we'll find out, and then I'll shrink it and I'll show you how to make that little squiggly line to show it. But for now, I'm going to assume that the real dimension is the real dimension, and that's going to be offset 12 feet. And again, that's from our dimension, which we're doing the wall, not the insulation. So we want to be careful about that and make sure we offset the right line. And then inside, it's going to be offset 1'4" from this side, and again from the concrete foundation wall, 1'4". So I'm just going to offset there, and then I'm just going to pull this up to set that. And then we got a circle. I'm going to draw a circle from that center point. It's going to be 16 inches diameter, which is an 8-inch radius, which is how AutoCAD thinks of it. If you don't want to do the math, you can always change your settings to diameter if you want. And then this is copied over 11'4" to there, and this one's copied over 12'8", and the next one's 11'4" again. And we'll erase that and erase this. And so we can see, because I used my full 12 inches, mine are set much more above. In the bottom one is probably pretty similar. All the dimensions, they got those question marks there, so I can't guarantee it. But it's 5'8" down. So I'm going to draw down from the edge of the brick 5'8". Could have offset it as well. This is another way of doing the same thing. And I'm going to come over 1'4" and draw a circle that has an 8-inch radius. And I will copy this circle 11'4". And in this case, the dimensions are telling us it's the same thing on the other side, but no middle dimensions. So I'm going to mirror these two objects about the center point there and put my line such as that. So I've got those there like this. So that's now actually I've got all my lines drawn, and now I can start dimensioning. So I am going to do my dimensions first here. I'll talk a little bit about how to get you started. Then I am going to have some time of where I'm just going to have to do some dimensioning. And it might be a bit boring, but if you need to watch closely, you can. I'm going to start by switching my layer to the dimension layer, which is this orange one here. And you can reach dimensionings through here if you want, but I sort of like to flip up here to my annotative text where I get a little more options on my dimensions. And there's a couple different ways of doing it. This one's sort of the nice, easy way of doing it. The thing that you need to start to pay attention to, and I will be grading on, is that you're starting the dimensions in the right spot and you're not overlapping. So I'm going to start slow just to show you some pitfalls that people might do. One way to dimension is, again, you just click that dimension line here. I'm going to come in, I'm going to make sure I'm right on the corner of the foundation, of the concrete, not the insulation, right? Because that's what we drew from. So I'm going to click on this line here. I'm going to find that same, sort of the opposite corner here. I'm going to click there, and I'm going to draw up to about this location. And we can see, I'm just going to press escape. You could keep dimensioning if you wanted to, but I'm going to I just want to show some potential errors that you guys might run into and how to correct them if you do. It says 38 feet, that's the right distance. If you already had from my previous video, you want to make sure this is set to 3/16 so that the dimension comes out correctly. And I'm going to go over and wherever there's a question mark, I'm not sure why that was put there. Maybe it was just put there to make drawing a little bit more difficult, but I'm going to assume for this assignment that the question marks should be real dimensions, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put in this next dimension, which is a question mark, and I'll just restart dimension line. And here's what people want to do. They want to come in and they know they're drawing this dimension of this little foundation wall down here, so they're going to click here, and they're going to click over here, and they're going to pull up. Now I want these two dimensions to be aligned, so I'm just going to snap. You can see I've got the snap point there to make them aligned. I'm going to press enter, and it turns out that's 22 feet. Now this dimension is rightly dimensioned. The problem is this orange dimension line comes down, and it comes down to here and over my line. If I just zoom out and I look over here, we notice there's supposed to be a gap between whatever you're dimensioning and the object itself. That's a symbol that says, hey, the straight line, that's a dimension, is you know, because straight lines often mean building. This gap means, oh, this is not part of the building, this is a dimension line. So those little gaps are important, and I don't have one here. The reason is because my point is down here, and I should pull this blue dot all the way up to here, in which case I will get that gap. Alternatively, had I, you know, been paying attention, I could have just clicked that point originally, and that gap would have been there from the start. But I see a lot of people, they make that mistake. They know they're dimensioning this wall, so they snap down here and don't realize that they sort of have to pull this up to get that gap up in that location. So that's that dimension. There is this overall dimension above this, so I can click dimension. In this case, I am definitely going to have to click from this point, and since it's an overall, I'm going to click to over here. Oops, you know what? That's okay. I gotta press escape here because I was doing an automatic angled dimension. I actually have different choices I can do down in this row here, and so to do this one, I'm going to have to hit the linear one in this case, and I'll again select that corner, and I'll select this corner, and I will pull up, and I got a nice clean dimension that has all those gaps and things like that. Now, some of the other things you can do with dimensioning is if I were to sort of tap this button again, instead of picking points, I can actually pick the wall and pull out. And I want to stay fairly close in, you know, on all these, just sort of eyeballing my distance, and so that gives me the dimension there. And if I sort of use this dimension command or this dimension command, I can do other dimensions sort of simultaneously without breaking my dimension. So I can come up here and now select this wall and pull this guy out to about here, and so on and so forth. Now, if I were to follow through, there's an 8-inch marker here, and I can go and do that. But I don't have anything to select, so I can go and do this next wall here. And again, I want to try to align dimensions. So even though these two dimensions right now aren't touching, they will be, but when I do the foundation wall, but they aren't right now. So I'll just click on the center point to align those dimensions that way, and I will keep going down this way. And I could, and essentially what I need to do is just dimension everything. And I sort of jumped around a little bit to show some different techniques of how to use the dimension tool. But for the next few minutes, I'm just going to sort of go around and dimension as necessary. Tune in or tune out or jump ahead till whenever this is finished to see all the dimensions you should have. I'm going to dimension these. Now I'm going to sort of be more rational about this and just sort of go from one location to the next. So I'm going to snap to the center point to dimension those columns, and because there's nothing to select. Well, I could use the other one, but I can use linear as well. Just go right across. I can hit enter. If my dimension ends, I can hit enter to start it again. I could alternatively, and I missed a little bit. I'm going to undo that. Notice how I have that little gap here? Let me undo that dimension. If I hit this dimension here, I can start from that one and go out to the next one and keep going across. That's another nice way to sort of do linear dimensions. And that row is done. And that'll sort of align everything perfectly so I don't get that mistake that I did before. Scroll down, sort of. Next one in we have is, oops, missed my point. So you want to go from foundation to foundation, and this one is 2 feet there. It's about where we have it in plan, and then we have 6 inches over here. And we probably should put TYP. You'll notice that when I put this 8 inches, it goes into a one location. It doesn't have the TYP that does in the plan. So I can fix both of those things just by clicking on the dimension. And I can come over here and click on that blue dot and move it up, and that allows me to move it to where we have it in place. And if I double click on here, it brings up my text editing box, and I can sort of pull all the way over, hit a space, and hit my cap locks because I want to make sure it's all capitalized to TYP dot. It moved it sort of to the right too far. That's okay. Once I hit enter to go out, actually, and I'll hit escape, I'll select that dimension again and just move it back over to where I find it to be comfortable, just like that. Let's see, there's a 1 foot dimension for the concrete wall right over somewhere over here, about halfway through the wall. That fit, and there's a string of dimensions all the way down here marking those locations, so I can continue this dimension down to here and down to here, down to here, and finally all the way out to both the brick and the concrete wall there. And that string is done nice and straight. There, let's see, most of the top is done. I sort of started the garage in definition, so let me show some of the things here. I'm going to do the wall itself is from there to there. Right, I can just select those 2 points and snap in to get those aligned. Not quite aligned, so I can always select it and move it back into place if for one reason or another I missed. There's an 8 inches there, and then over on this side I have 1'4" for the footing dimension. And I've got a string that sets the column. They have put this dimension offset from the foundation, though I could have aligned it had I wanted to. I guess that's the reason, because if I align to there, it's not the right dimension. I need to stretch this up to up in that location right up there. And then I can continue this guy straight down to the wall. And that'll be it. And they have also dimensioned each side of this, the 8 inches for the concrete and the 1'4" for the foundation. So I guess I can do the same. And we could use something like typical, although obviously it does change. And I'm just going to do mine sort of like this. I might be doing some of these dimensions in a slightly different spot, and that's probably okay, because I might come back and fix that one. But they have a dimension here to here. It's just pulled up this way. Actually, in mine is, oh, you know why? Because it's 2 inches short, because I did the insulation where I should do the concrete wall. It's 21'4", and they have the continuous dimension for the 8 inches right there. So I can erase, since I have that twice, I can erase this one up here. Don't need that twice for sure. Get rid of that, just have the 1'4", and I can put in my 8 inches here to here. I actually wanted to go on this side if I'm matching, so I might have to do the same thing. I might have to drop it out of alignment and just shift it back into place. Might pull that dimension in a little bit that way. And they also have 1'4" down somewhere in here. I've been using the center points. I gotta go to my footing as a good place to snap this in to place like that. So 1'4", 1'4". That all looks good. And I need to do horizontal for this column. So start dimension again. Now, what I might do is I might just snap here and come straight across. Guess that's the center point, so that would have also worked had I known that. I can select here to get 10'8", pull that up, and come to my continue dimension button, pull that straight across to there, hit escape to end that, and that is all nicely dimensioned. This sort of corner piece here. I'm sure I've got plenty more dimensions I've missed. We've got footing dimension on this side, which is 2, and the wall dimension, which is going to be a continuation of that string. So I'm going to have to sort of restart that, pull that out to here, and then I can continue on across. And you know, had I done it before, I could have continued previously. That should actually be 11'4", so I might have to edit that in my drawing. Oh, actually, sorry. No, the dimension is going to the column, so I'm going to undo that step and go to here. It should be, oh, I think I missed it there. 11'4". There we go. When I get it just right, when I get what I want to select, it goes correct. Imagine that. There. There. And that string is good there. I needed to mention the footing somewhere on this side, so before I forget that, just gonna go, I'm gonna sort of center it on this piece by sort of using my snap and pushing over, such as I demonstrated there. They have it a little bit lower on the drawing. It's fine if you put it in that other location. Let's see, I have this string of dimensions. Why don't I come out and do these overalls on the outside? Come here, corner, way down into the corner. Pull this out. You know, a great check for your drawing is if you're pretty confident you got your dimensions in the right spot. If your numbers aren't coming out right, then you might need to edit your drawing, which is perfectly acceptable. The great thing about AutoCAD is you can do that at any time. Continue dimension to there and all the way down. I didn't mention it, these little symbols and ticks, that's all just sort of standard practice for making an architectural dimension. And again, it's just a symbol to let people know what that it's a dimension and not actually part of your object. There's a little 4-inch dimension that's right here for the brick. So I'm going to select in there, pull that out. You can see in the drawing they actually moved the numbered over here, which is nice. Sometimes people will draw a little line to show that it goes in there, but it's pretty clear that that's supposed to be 4 inches. In that location, and there's some dimensions again up in here for this wall. Move that in a little bit. I could alternatively, again, I could move that off to the side, whatever you think makes sense and is most legible. Some of these dimensions, as we saw, are not quite legible, at least in the instructions anyway. And I'll make this. I definitely have to move that down to there. I got the little chimney dimensioned. I can come down and do the openings. Make this a continuous. And I'm gonna keep going for a second. We notice that that dimension isn't fully as illustrated, nor is that one, and that's because it just dimensions will just give you the number. But again, if I want to change the text, I'll just double click on this. I'm going to push the over arrow to sort of get to the end and type in rough OP and apostrophe G. This is a shortcut they're doing, which of course means opening, so that means rough opening. And here, in even more of a shortcut, is R dot O dot, which, you know, I'm matching the drawing in front of us. I feel like if I'm using R dot O dot here, I probably should do the same thing there, but my guess is it's just a lesson of, you know, either one, it means rough opening. And I'm going to continue around the outside of this and do some of these dimensions. So I'm going to select here, here. And I'm going to continue this dimension over and over that way. I'll dimension these footings way out here, and I could snap here or really at the end point of that line if I wanted to. Here, do a continuous dimension all the way across these. And I'll move this into place because that's what was done on the base drawing. You'll notice that some of these, like my overall dimensions, are on the top. Like I could put this overall one down on the bottom, but we always put overalls on the top and on the left-hand side, which is why, unless it makes sense to do otherwise, and sometimes if a building's not symmetrical, it very well might make sense. But for this drawing, if anywhere close, you put the overalls on the top and the left, and the detailing of dimensions, the sub-dimensions, can go on either side of there. So I got to zoom in here. There's a little, it's really unclear to read here. Maybe I can make the dimension a little bit more clear, but I want to come here and here. That dimension is 1 foot, and I might move this actually down to here to make that dimension more clear than what is on the page. And then I can continue that dimension to there, which is the 1 foot of this side, and maybe I'll even put that up here. Just make the dimensions a lot more clear. It's really difficult to read when I was looking at it. And then the overall. And again, I could do the same thing. I could put the 2 foot. It might be more clear to move it up. But since I haven't sort of followed that standard anywhere else, and this is a unique case, I'll keep it as is that way. And I've got all of those. So I think the last pieces that I have yet to dimension are the stairs. But I'm going to basically do it the same way. There's this overall dimension, which should be 3, 4.5, which is not, which means I made a mistake somewhere. Or actually, the 3, 4.5 is to the center line of the railings. Again, I forgot I had to look at that blow up we printed out in the last video, so I bet this is right. So I can actually come in to the halfway point, which is, I'm just going to move it 2.25 inches from that side and 2.25 inches from that side, which is the halfway point. I just did the math. You could draw a line and get the midpoint if you wanted to get the same result, but it is 3, 4.5. Interestingly enough, I can continue dimensions, and we have this little dimension here, which is from the center point of the railing. Oops, and I got to get it to where this line, which is, there's a hole there right now, so it's not going to do it, but I'm going to sort of hold there. I might need to actually snap on this line and snap on this line somewhere. It doesn't really matter. Actually, I can snap to up there. I can pull it down so it's even. We can see that put the 1 3/4 over here, but I'm just going to click on it and move it up over here to the side. And I actually might need to move these both down, because, so I'm going to select on this one and select on this one, move them down. Of course I got to move this now since I moved it, because I have to fit a 3 foot clear in this zone. And I still might have to move it more. We'll see how it goes. Let's squeeze it right in here. Double click and push over to type CLR period, which again means clear. So you have a 3-foot clearance before you have the handrails. So that's that dimension. We have a dimension up in this location, which is 4.5 inches. It popped up here. And double click, type TYP period. For railing dimension, over. And we have a 10-inch typical dimension about here. Pull that out. Double click, push over, TYP. I have to move it so it's clear, and I can offset it a little bit like this. Alternatively, if I wanted to center my 10 inches, I could just move this down really anywhere to this lower half. That'll give me room to center that dimension a little more easily. And it's okay to move dimensions again, and we have dimension here, 4.5 inches for this railing. And we have another dimension of the railing, which again is the halfway point. So I'm going to move these down once again, 2.25 on each side. That's 4.5, and then there's a dimension from here to the column, from that point right there to the column line, which is 4.0 3/4. And even though I never even worried about that when I was drawing, since hopefully everything else is right, that does work out to be the right dimension. This is a little close to this line here, so I'm just going to move my move command. You could do it, you could stretch it, you could do a number of things, and just move that over so I get a nice clean line. And I think that is all the dimensions possible. Like the footings, I forgot a dimension or two. So that is a good bunch of the notes, but I know we're a half hour in. I'm just going to push on through. We still got a few other kinds of notes to do. The next one I'm going to do is over in this area, there's a note that says unexcavated. And so I'm going to do that. And to do that, I'm going to use a leader line. So I'm going to start with my leader line, and this is going to draw a nice little shape. You start at the arrow. As you can see, as I pull away, it draws the arrow, and I can click, and I can come down in another direction and type enter, and then I can type in unexcavated. And I've got the unexcavated. Now, some of you guys, actually, I think I made this change. If you click here, if you didn't get your text, you could always add text at another time just using mtext like we've gone over in the past. But how I did that is I went to modify, and I went to content. I selected this pull down to be mtext, and I selected text style to be this architecture annotative style, which is going to be our text style that's set up. So that gives me one of the arrows. In this case, I need another arrow. So I can just start my leader line again and start at the arrow, come up, and come over this way. Now this time I don't need any text, so I'll just escape, and says, do you want to save changes to text, and say yes, and it will sort of allow me to do it without any text. Although the line ran over to that text, so I'll just move it over to get those two arrows for the unexcavated. There's a bunch of notes on page 3 that I'll get to in a few minutes that we also have to add. That's not on our base drawing. We'll use that same multi-leader command to do those. But before I do those, I'll do some of the rest of the things that are on the drawing. There's a big symbol that goes from up here all the way down. That's a section line. And the way we're going to do that, we're instructed to do that in the directions, is to use our tool palette. So I need to go to View to pull up my tool palette. If yours is up, you don't need to go to View, but I'm going to need to go to View, Tool Palette, and I have these here. I'm going to go to Annotation here. Imperial, that's English, that's feet and inches. So I want Imperial. And I want my section call out. I'm going to select here, and what I'm going to do is, actually I'm not sure it gives us a layer, but I can tell from the instructions it's on a blue layer, so I might have to change this moving forward. In fact, I bet notes should be on a different layer as well. So I will look at that in a second. But I'm going to set this right about where I need it to be, which is here. Alright, and we can see it added this little, it looks exactly like what I sort of see here. Well, I shouldn't say exactly. It's got the symbol right, but doesn't have the right letters. It's not in the right orientation, and this little tag can be sort of manipulated as you need to go. So one of the things I can do is I can select on it, and I got all these little dots. They aren't the squares, and I can do various things to them. So one thing is I can actually rotate this all the way around so that my line's pointing down, but of course now I want my section to point right. This one's pointing left. So I can hit that little arrow. It makes it point all right. And then I can grab this arrow down here and stretch it all the way down to how far it's supposed to go. So I've got the symbol now looking right, but I need to change the text. So to do that, I'm just going to double click up here, and in this number we're going to have B. So this is going to point to another drawing, which is A-106. So at some point in time we're going to draw a sheet A106, which is going to have this building section in it. I'm going to select on this. I'm going to go back to home and try to figure out what layer I want to put it on. You know, it's interesting because the drawing shows it as a dark blue, but I don't want to put it on a heavy. So I'm gonna do it and instead put it on my text layer. And maybe the cyan just doesn't come out right, but going to take this one and also change that to my text layer as well. Like that, and there's another section that runs across Y, so I can again hit section again. I can just drop this about where it wants to go, which is approximately here. I'm going to start by rotating around so it points up, and then I need to flip. Actually, I need to rotate around because I need the line to be going in the right direction. Because what I can then do is hit that arrow to flip it up and then pull this line all the way across your drawing like that. And I'm going to match properties to put it on this layer. Select here and go A. Select here and do A-105. And you know, I sort of put mine where this one was put. I want to put mine out here. I just don't want it to interfere with the line, and so I'm going to have to stretch it on this side as well. And just to clean up, I'm going to move this dimension line all the way below that one. So just so that they're very clearly that they're different lines. And I've got, you know, mine's going through this 10 inches, so maybe I'll just move this whole thing up just ever so slightly up to there. You know, so I was just manipulating my drawing to move things out of the way from one another. Perfectly acceptable to do, just like that. I just noticed actually there's a set of lines which we don't have the dimensions of, and we won't be able to put in unless we have the first floor plan to show where the stairs start. So I'm going to just estimate it for now. Maybe we'll come back and we'll fix it later. But I'm going to change my line and go to, let's see, I'm going to go to maybe Phantom. We'll see what this line weight looks like. And I'm going to draw a line from here out to here and then down. And again, ideally, and draw a line over. The placement of this top line, we don't have that dimension anywhere that I can see. That's going to be basically the top of the stairs as you're going up the level. That presumably is maybe next week's assignment or certainly an assignment coming up. But ideally we'd have that straightened, and we'd remember to go back and that we just sort of faked that line in there. So, but anyway, I got those tags in. I got a couple more tags around the door. I have a hexagon with a 1, and I got a circle with some numbers in it down here. That's my window tag. I don't have access. Ideally, those would be blocks or attributes or even callouts like over here. I don't have that stuff. That wasn't given to me, so I'm going to draw it fresh, which we can also do, although not necessarily ideal, but we can. To do a hexagon, I'm going to select here and go to polygon. I'm going to type in 6 to draw 6 sides. And I'm going to click a point down and say inscribe my text. I'm going to click and click and I draw a hexagon. Again, I want to draw back on text layer. I'm going to put all these on text. So I'm going to make that text layer and set myself to text layer. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to text multiline and draw a box inside here and type in 1. Because that's what it is. It's a 1 inside there. And then I'll just eyeball it up to center. There's some ways you could get it potentially more accurate to be centered, but you know what? It's going to look more than good enough, so why do it the hard way? The size of the hexagon, I just eyeballed it. If you happen to think it's too big or too small, you can scale it down as needed. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm basically going to start a circle. Actually, I'm going to start by copying this multi-line text. I'm going to copy it down to here. Oops, I missed copy. I think I messed my base point up. Put this here. I'm going to put in the first bit of text here, which is B1. And I'm going to copy this down. And this is going to be 48 inches. And I'm going to draw a circle approximately centered in here, just so I know what size to draw this circle. Just like this. And then I can draw a line straight across here from the center point because I had my snap on. I could have alternatively turned on nodes or really quadrants to draw that line, but that probably would have taken me longer, though it took a couple more steps. But there we go, B1 over 48. That's those two symbols. And then other than the title block and the title, which is down here, that's the notes for this page. But we do have a few more notes. Again, if you go to page 3 of your instructions, you'll see a bunch of notes. We'll have to put these on. So 12-inch thick, the first one is 12-inch thick reinforced concrete foundation wall. Obviously some things are abbreviated if you're looking at that instruction page. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my annotation tab, go back to my leader line, and just pick a spot. So here's my concrete wall. I'm going to start it in sort of the center, pull up and pull over, and then start typing this in. 12-inch thick reinforced concrete foundation wall. Now I don't like putting dimensions in two spots. You can see we actually have a 1 foot there and a 12 inches there, which of course is just 1 foot. I'm going to move this over so it's clean from the dimension line. I would actually either choose to erase this dimension if I were setting this drawing up myself, or just have the note be reinforced concrete foundation wall. In fact, the issue is if you put a dimension in two spots and you change it, you might think you're changing it because you changed this number and forgot that you also put it here. Or what really happens, you're working with someone else that they didn't realize you put that dimension there. It's a recipe for disaster. Dimensions should be only in one spot, so I can really solve this problem. The important part is that this is a reinforced concrete wall, and then you might look to find some detailing about that on another page. So I'm just going to say reinforced concrete wall. Then I don't need the 8, I don't need a 12. It's just all that way. In fact, I might even change this further. Double click to edit it and do TYP, and then know that, hey, all my concrete walls, they're reinforced. That makes sense. I won't take off if you do it the way the instructions instruct you, or if you do it this way. There's an edge of footing, so we can skip 8 because we sort of took care of it with my alternate there. We can do 3, which is edge of footing centered beneath foundation wall. And that's, again, they use the TYP there. They're using the in parentheses, so I might go and edit this to be consistent. Let's see, where would be a good spot for this? I could put it there. I really want to, what I might do is I might really switch this around now that I'm seeing all the notes. I want to put these notes off to the side so I can get a couple aligned. So the oops, what just happened? Oh, I snapped to something I don't want to snap to. Try again. Why is this not drawing straight out? Well, I'll get it. I'm going to put this here so it's much closer. And then put this out here so that that's straight. like that, because what I can do now is I can keep this leader line. I can go to here and sort of set this about equal in height. Sometimes I'll even draw a line to make sure they're straight, and type this next one, which is edge of footing centered beneath foundation wall TYP. And you can see if something that sometimes things aren't recognized as spelling with the little red line because it's abbreviation. This one I just typed in wrong. And if you right click, it might give you suggestions. I guess I'm so bad at that I can retype it. But yes, try to spell correctly, and we can see that we have that there, and my text is sort of nicely aligned in that location. I can also do 2-inch rigid insulation right from the same point. I can come out to this point if I want to here, and go 2-inch rigid insulation. I'm going to put another TYP because it is found in more locations. 4-inch brick shelf is going to have to be down here. Again, we have the dimension there, so I wouldn't dimension it twice. I would really just put in my leader line, snap a point, snap out. Now I'm going to snap down approximately equal to those points and just say brick ledge or brick shelf. There to there. Okay. 4-inch 6 radiant heated slab on grade. So that's just going to be anywhere in here. I guess I'll just put it here. 4-inch thick radiant heated concrete slab on grade. And we'll see some of these I might need to put returns in if they don't fit on the page. I'll have to check that later. And steel beam wall pocket, typical. Since I dimensioned this one, I'm going to put the note next to this one. I'll come out this way to make it clean. And that is steel beam pocket. I'm going to do a return in wall. Actually, I don't even have to do a return. You know what I can do? I can do pocket in wall. If I can spell correctly here. TYP, boom. Fix pocket. Pocket. And it's way too long, so I don't want it extending out here. But if I double click on here, I should be able to pull this corner. Why isn't it letting me pull in here? Set to width of 0. There we go. Click up there, and I can pull it in, and it'll automatically sort of make it as even as possible. I don't like where that line is going, way that those standards are set, but I'm not going to worry about it. It reads, it works. There, 3 feet, and you can come the other direction. 3 feet 0. Sorry. 3 foot 0 inch by 3 foot 0 inch by 12 inch. I'm going to hit a return here. Column footing. And this one asks us to show it in all 4 locations because we can't put typical. I'll move it to just clean my drawing up. We can't put typical because this one's not typical. So this is not a typical condition. It does change. I'll put that there, copy that down. I might have to move some of these around to be clearer at some point later on. Copy that there, copy that there. So I can take this guy, move him over. You can see the way you do it changes the lines a little bit, which is, I don't want to redo the text. So I'm going to go in and copy this text, just the text, because I can erase this guy. Because of the stairs, I need to put this note on the other side. So I can go this way, paste in the note like that, and move this over to fit. Maybe even stretch this up a little bit. Right, and then this guy, he's a little tight in between everything that's going on. I might try to just stretch him, see what it looks like, see if I can fit it in there. And see that when you get too close, the arrow disappears. So if I want the arrow, I just don't have the room to do it there. So I can maybe take it here, or I can take it over here. And then since it's an awkward arrow placement, I'll just move the arrow to somewhere in that direction. So again, just trying to clean up these things so the notes don't run over each other. Alright, so I'll put that there. Let's keep it clean. Maybe there's a better spot. Sometimes I could actually put an arrow. I could use a leader line and use the same text. That could also work. And that was probably what I would have done, but it wouldn't have been in 4 locations as the directions say. So either one's fine. Come out here and come this way. Actually, no, because I know it's going to happen. I'm going to try to get room. I think it's going to come here and fit here the best. And this is, I already have this copied, so I'm cheating. You could type it all in, but the only thing that really changes is, oops, that the 3's come to 4's, and everything else stays the same for that note. Just a bigger size footing that fits there. Then I've got the dimension the columns. Find a good spot. I've got some room over here, so I'll dimension the columns here. Again, maybe I'll just sort of eyeball it up so it looks. Actually, why don't I go this way? The exact placement doesn't fully matter, but when you can get alignments up, it sometimes helps make the drawing read. So it's 4" DIA dot sh dot. I'm going to return 40 steel pipe column TYP. There we go. Another way of doing notes sometimes, especially when they get long and they don't fit well in the space, is to actually just use a number and tag it to a bunch of numbers on the other side, but that's okay. And I'm going to put a note for these footings here. I can center it, I'll be fine, it'll be pretty clear here. And I'm going to do 16 inches diameter, concrete. Quote, I spell it right, sonotube FTG TYP. Concrete footing and 2x4 wood stud wall with 1/2" gypsum both sides. We actually did not draw that, so I'm going to leave that out. Presumably that's against the foundation wall. And I don't think I saw that anywhere on here. Could be around the stairs. I'm not sure where that wall is supposed to be. So I'm going to leave that note out of there. That's the last note. If you leave it out too, you can. I'm done with this, so I'm going to close that down. You could have closed it earlier. But nonetheless, that's pretty well close enough. I've got some straight line up here I'll erase. The last thing to do is just to put this on a title block and set those settings correctly. So we're going to use the landscape title block, double click for the viewport, double tap the middle to sort of zoom extents, I don't see my dimensions and notes because they're set to the scale, and my scale, my viewport's not set yet, so I gotta set that to 3/16. And when I do that, you can see this all comes in, and we can see that I do have an issue with getting everything fitting on the screen. It is actually very, very tight. So what I'm going to have to do is shove this over, barely have it fit left to right from this point. So I'm going to get all these notes that are stuck out here. I'm going to have to fit those into the line somewhere, and all this stuff that's up top I am going to have to pull down. That's what I'm going to have to do for this assignment. I'd prefer to change the scale of the drawing, but that's not the intent. So let me go and make those changes. If you're following me, you probably have to do the same. So you know what? We had this 12 foot, which I didn't even dimension here, line. If I just jump back out, we'll see I can see just a little bit of that dimension line. It's sort of an upper limit of what I can see. Come on, get off there. Go to model. So everything has to be below this line. That's pretty tight. I have to move this way down, move that down. That probably moved this guy. So I'm going to move him up to about there. Select these dimensions, move them down far in pretty tight. There. And I'm going to you could move, but I'm going to shift those all down or stretch those all down and hope. I'm going to check to see, does this fit in here? Not quite. The dimensions are still not quite fitting, so I got to get even tighter than this. Wow. Tight drawing. I see what they have done. They've on the instructions, this one needs to get pulled down. Pull this way down a lot. This can get pulled down. See, I don't want to get those two lines too close together. For clarities, I think it's going to always be a little unclear, but doing the best we can here with the size we've got, and I can pull this way down there. Now let me check, does it fit? Yes, it's fitting. So I have to add this dimension over here. I'm going to go to my dimension, I'm going to dimension it. Dimension to here. It's supposed to be, well, I'm going to put it here. Actually, I'm going to align it with this one. It's supposed to be 12 foot because I shifted these all down, because I stretched these all down or moved them. It's now 4'1". So I could either change. Well, I need to do two things. One is I need to double click on here, and if I select the text, I can say 12 foot 0 inches, and it'll say 12 foot. But the other thing you notice, there's that little squiggly line that basically is informing you, hey, this is not drawn to scale, and that's this tool right here. I'm going to select this guy, pick that dimension, pick the center point, and I got that little squiggly line. So I have that set, and the other thing I need to do is all of these text here, they have to fit pretty much within that width. So I can stretch these all over because they all can come over here. And then let's see, this is going to take some maneuvering around. It might look a little ugly. I might end up wanting to move some things to other locations, to internal in the plan. We'll have to see how it goes. If I start here and double click, I can click in here, double click over there to give it some width, and then let's see if that fits inside. It might fit if I stretch my viewport out to here, and it does fit. So that'll be a good marker. Of course, it runs into this, so I'm going to have to move. The insulation can just move down. Hopefully that will be low enough, and it needs to come in, double click there, pull it in. That should be good for the rigid insulation. So I'm going to move this all down, give it some space, double click, pull in to fit, click, and of course now it's not pointing to the wall anymore, so I'll just pull this back. And actually I'm going to stretch this one up just to get those points off. of one another and pull that in just to sort of get a better angle and things like that. Of course, now this should be able to just actually shift these guys or stretch these guys in to approximately matching. This one's going to be fine, but I have to do the same here. Double click, pull in. I'm going to see if that fits. Probably doesn't fit. So, can I get it? That's maybe that'll fit. We'll find out. Landscape. Does it fit? No, it does not fit. So, you need to keep coming in. A funny little thing like that. Let's hope this fits. That does fit. So I got that down. Now it looks like all my notes are fitting, so that is good. The last thing you need to do is you need to fill out the page. I should say title block. The important thing that you're going to need to fill out here is what goes in this location. And it looks like it's going to be A-101. And I see that, of course, this is going to fall outside the page. So I'm going to select on this and change the scale to maybe 1/4 inch. That looks a little, see, maybe 3/8. 3/8 will fit. I think that's what it looks like it is. It just falls out, so I just need to move that over a little bit. And I need to do the same up to this one. A-101. Actually, I shouldn't have exited out. Make it 3/8. Move it. Actually, this space. Oops, I didn't change the size, I don't think. Oops. Cancel that. Don't want to put in a tab. 3/8. There we go. Now that's fitting again. Put in foundation plan here. You can see it on the instructions on page 3. It says basement/foundation plan. And need to sort of move and stretch it into place. Put your name, of course, there. SUNY Delhi, that and that can stay the same. Scaled as noted. We'll put in the scale in a second. Put the due date in, which of course will change depending on section and year and etc. And put in your section number here, which of course that's up to you to put in as well. So the last bit of information we sort of need to put in is the title. And in the drawing, our title is right here. I put this note here on mine, so since this is really the only place for a title, I might have to jump into model space and come in and move this to, I think what I'll do is I'll just move this, well, I can shrink it down, double click, and hopefully get enough space out of it, and then just sort of stretch this over a little bit just to give myself room for the title. Should have that room there now. A landscape. And I'll do it here. So I'm going to just use multi-line text for this. I'm going to go to Home, go to Text, multi-line text. I'm going to draw a box. And I'm going to say basement / foundation plan. And I want this to be a little bit bigger since it's the title. So I'm going to use a 1/4 scale. And we want it to be underlined. So I'm going to hit the underline. I'm going to hit return. I'm going to type in scale. And I can undo the underline. Don't want this to be underlined. Scale dot 3/16 of an inch equals 1 foot 0 inches. And this we want to be that same 3/32, which it is. And this, for some reason, selected out of 1/4. When I did that, it looks big, but hopefully when I come across it, it looks sort of okay. I'm going to have to stretch this out to fit this in. They might have used slightly different sizes because that does not fit the same way. So you know what? I'm going to select all this. If this 1/4 scale doesn't fit, let's go back to 3/32. Let's see, what's bigger than 3/32? 3/16? It's a little bit bigger. Well, then quarter scales, then 3. Oh, it didn't go. 3/16. Why is this not going here? Come on, change your scale. Well, 3/8 is bigger than a quarter. There we go, 3/16. 3/16 just visually looks like it's about right. That's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to put that over here, and they have this rather ugly north arrow, and again, that north arrow can be found under View, Tool Palette, which I just closed, and this Imperial north arrow here. I can put it in here, click on it, rotate it around to this location, and it's okay if it covers the viewport. The viewport doesn't print, and I need to put a piece of M text up here that says north, and that should be my common 3/32 inch text, which it is. Put that right up there. It's a little tight there. I could sort of move this and this over a bit, and I could move that node over a bit more if I wanted a little more space, but it's all fitting and it all looks good. And I think that is everything you need to draw. So of course I'm going to save this, and that's it. I'm going to print it and do other things, and that's the end of this video, a rather long one, but I'll